Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 116 of A Yank on the Footy. I am Craig Wessels from Sandusky, Ohio, and I am thrilled that you're listening. While I conducted this discussion last weekend, I'm recording the intro and the closing on Saturday evening. And I wanted to take a moment before I dive into the episode and share my thoughts and prayers with the citizens in the state of Kentucky here in the United States, as well as several other states, including Arkansas, Illinois, and I believe Missouri as well. We had a devastating series of tornadoes last night with some really severe weather here in the U.S. And one tornado managed to stay on the ground for over 360 kilometers and has just done untold damage in the state of Kentucky. And the death toll right now is estimated to be around 70, and it's expected to climb significantly higher than that. So I want to pass along my condolences to those lost in Kentucky. And if you are somebody who is here in the U.S. and you're thinking about wanting to help out and what can you do, well, I'm going to be putting a link in the show notes that has links to several different organizations that are working on trying to provide relief to these individuals and these families and such in the state of Kentucky. So hopefully you'll consider taking a look at that and helping them out. Now, today's club of the episode is the Penley and Essendon Grammar School, or PEGS Football Club. And they happen to play their footy in Keeler Park in the Melbourne suburbs. I believe that's in the Essendon area. And this is a club that is one that my guest for this episode is very closely associated with, so I thought this would be a natural choice for the club of the episode. Now, my guest this week reminds me very much like a previous guest that I had on the show, and this is my friend Orville Gibson, who I had on for a couple of episodes during a discussion that we had a few months back. And Orville is, well, the best way I can describe it is he's a hero. And I believe my guest today is also a hero, but a different type of hero. Orville, he was a hero during his time in the military, and how he goes about continuing to pay tribute to one of Australia's lost heroes as well. But my guest this week, a gentleman by the name of Michael Gallus, is a whole different type of hero. You know, I've not met Michael before. The first time that I spoke to him was during this interview, and I have to tell you that he came across, and I truly believe that he is, and those of you who know him will probably confirm this, he's one of the most selfless and one of the most upbeat people I have ever had the pleasure of talking with. Now, I came across one of his posts on his social media sites talking about and regarding a coaching job that he is involved with, which we will be talking about in this episode. But as I began to research him a little bit further and wanted to learn a little bit more about him, I realized that he's exactly what I described him as at the outset of our interview. And that is a sport renaissance man. And I truly believe that. And that's not a term that I've used before. As I was jotting down my questions and such that I was going to be asking him, that phrase just popped into my head because he's done so many unique things involved with sport. And I think you're going to truly appreciate the efforts of this gentleman. So I hope you'll sit back and I hope you'll enjoy my chat with Michael Gallus. Enjoy, ladies and gentlemen. My guest today is what I think qualifies as an international sport renaissance man. He's a teacher. He's been an AFL recruiter, a radio commentator, a philanthropist, a coach, and is very likely the Texas A&M Aggies' biggest supporter in the Southern Hemisphere. I am thrilled to welcome Michael Gallus to the podcast. Welcome aboard, Michael. So glad to be able to have you here this morning.
G'day, mate, and great to be here.
Yeah, I use that term Renaissance man, and I thought that it really worked here because you have done so many things and you have had such a diverse career in sport, not only in Australia, but literally around the world. And I want to dig into some of those things today. And yeah, I think it really applies. And have you ever thought about yourself as kind of being a Renaissance man?
No, I haven't, Craig. But I'm very humbled for you to describe me in that way. That's for sure.
Well, I think it's a richly deserved um, moniker that I just applied to you there, and hopefully some other people pick up on that there, and we'll that'll pay off for you down the road. And as I'm talking to Michael, he does have his polo shirt from the club that he is now coaching, which we're going to get into here in just a few minutes. But it's a really unique story, and I can't wait to share this with you. But before we dive into that, you established an organization back in, I believe, 2012, if I did the math correctly, called Footy4All. Can you tell us about that organization and what your goals are and what you've done?
Yeah, well, it sort of had a midlife crisis, Craig, and most people trade the wife in for a younger version or get a red Ferrari. But I decided to start a charity called Footy4All and give kids opportunities through sport that they're not able to. I've been blessed to be a school teacher for 26 years and been involved in community coaching of all sports: football, cricket, basketball, soccer, and was privileged to teach in one of the best schools in Victoria, Melbourne, Australia, and saw the opportunities that kids got through sport. And when I turned 40, I've got 3 kids of my own and a beautiful wife, and I think that I've done a good job with my teaching, but I wanted to really make an impact on kids that were missing out. And I thought, well, the greatest impact that I've seen is the power of sport. And Nelson Mandela said sport speaks to youth in a language that they understand. And he was 100% right. And so I thought, well, I've been very blessed through teaching. I did AFL commentating here in Melbourne for a few years. I also was lucky enough to work in recruiting with the Brisbane Lions for a couple of years. Worked with the National Indigenous Radio Service with commentating AFL. So I had this huge network of people. And I thought, well, why don't we link all those people up together and let's get some sporting programs out to kids that are unable to engage in sport. And I thought, well, the best thing about sport is playing with the ball. Mm-hmm. And there's so many programs out there, but there was not one program that left the kids with a ball at the end of their sporting clinics around Australia or across the world that I've seen. So I decided to, when I turned 40, put all those people together and start a children's sporting organisation that ran sporting clinics and then gave balls out to kids. We're nearly up to our 10-year mark, as you said, and we've given out over 26,000 new balls to kids around Australia and excitingly across the world, in Pakistan and also in Fiji and also in Africa as well. We've got programs running and totally volunteer, Craig. Every cent that got donated, has been donated to Footy4All, goes straight back into the charity and goes straight out to the kids. And there's not too many charities around the world that operate in that way, and been lucky enough to operate for 10 years to get that done.
That is absolutely fantastic, and it's such a noble cause, and that is just really it. As a teacher myself, and I've been doing it right around the same amount of years as you have, the same number of years. I can't applaud you more than I am by trying to share your story here now. And we're going to certainly dig into Footy4All here again. But you mentioned, as far as the radio commentator, were you working with the NIRS?
I was, yes.
Okay, because I know that because generally speaking, I have the Watch AFL app to watch the games live, but sometimes I do like to tune in and listen to the games on the radio through the app on the AFL website, and yep. I do enjoy listening to the commentators on NIRS. And there's actually a gentleman who I talk to all the time online who lives up in Queensland, who I interviewed for the podcast, who turned me on to listening to NIRS because he thought that it was just a really great way that they go about broadcasting the game. So, and I've sent messages in to NIRS before during the course of games going on, and have had them mentioned on the game. So it's kind of cool that you've worked with them. So that's great.
That's great organisation, and again, a very unique organisation. Barry Denner, one of their commentators, gave me an opportunity to come on as a stats man and work my way into commentating. and they deliver the AFL game into remote Aboriginal communities all over Australia, and that linked in so well in relation to what Footies4All charity does, because we've gone to so many of those remote communities and been blessed to be accepted into those communities to run sporting clinics and give balls out to the kids. And I have no doubt that they love the game of AFL footy thanks to NIRS.
Yeah, it is. It's a great service. I love listening to them when I do tune in on the radio. It's just a lot of fun to hear, not necessarily the big corporate broadcast, if you will. Okay, I'm not getting the ad from Tire Power or some of the other places that the Bunnings warehouse ads not necessarily popping up, that sort of thing. So you said that you've distributed balls throughout Australia, but then also Pakistan, which is going to lead us into we're going to drop a breadcrumb here, because that's where we're going to be going in a moment. But I did see an article that I'm going to post in the show notes that you were also in Africa, on the continent of Africa as well, and it wasn't necessarily footies, but it was soccer balls, if you will, as we call them here in the US.
Yeah, amazing story, that one. We were just contacted through Facebook. Daniel Marley's his name in Africa, and he asked for some soccer balls to be sent over. So we sent over a couple of soccer balls, and then he sent back, and he sent back a video showing that one soccer ball with 100 kids in one school, and he said they actually share that soccer ball across 3 or 4 schools. And I thought, well, we've got to do better than that. So right. I contacted him and said, look, can we send you over some soccer ball, a box of soccer balls? And he was just so joyous. And then from that, he said he also had girls wanting to play netball. So we organised some fundraising, and we got a couple of boxes of soccer balls and netballs and sent them over. And from that, before COVID, he'd started the Michael Gallus Cup, where he organised 15 schools from around the area to play soccer and netball. And the great thing, like here in Australia, and I'm sure in America, they have scouts from the other schools. And the best thing about this program was that the best soccer kids and netball kids were given opportunities through scholarships into other schools. And as you know, as a teacher, education's the key. And you look at these countries such as Africa and Fiji and Pakistan that I've been lucky enough to and blessed enough to visit, that if we can improve education, then we can give these kids a pathway to, a really successful life. And if we can do that through sport as well, if that can be the hook to bring them into education, and that's what I've found as we've travelled around Australia, especially in the remote Aboriginal communities, all our activities that we do is through schools. So the kids have to attend the school to come into the clinic, and then through the clinic they get the opportunity to take home a football, a soccer ball, a basketball, or a netball so that they can engage in their own community.
Okay. So how does it feel to have a championship game named after yourself?
It's pretty surreal. It's pretty surreal, Craig. So, it's just a great honour and a blessing. And again, it's the impact that, and it's not just me. I mean, the Footies4All only works because we've got thousands of people, and you're one of them now, Craig, which we appreciate of, who support the idea of using sport to change kids' lives one ball at a time. And I've just been so blessed across Australia and around the world to have such amazing support in relation. I'm just the person up the top and the face of it all, but without thousands and thousands of volunteers again behind. I just got a whole box of everything, clothing, school supplies, sporting materials to send across to Fiji, just out of the blue, a lady said, and included the postage. The postage is the hardest thing, as you would understand.
Right, I have ordered a few things from Australia. I understand very well how the postage works. Yes, it can be pricey. Yes.
Yeah, and we're blessed. We're blessed in Australia. TNT, which has just been taken over by FedEx, have done for 10 years without one single bit of acknowledgement. They've been distributing our balls across Australia and to some of the most remote areas you've ever heard of as well. It's not just going to Melbourne, Sydney or Brisbane. And
right.
I've been very blessed. And Ross Faulkner, who makes our footballs as well, he's donated over $50,000 worth of product for us over that time, and really supports everything we do. And we've been blessed with amazing people like yourself that understand the power of sport and give us that opportunity. And it was through that led me to AFL in Pakistan, and just an extraordinary story, totally extraordinary, that in the AFL run the International Cup, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners will be well aware of. America bring down 2 teams every year with male and female, and the game is absolutely thriving in America, as you well know.
It is, yes. I talked to a lot of people involved with the USAFL, yeah. And so you kind of led us to where we're heading there next. The shirt that he's wearing right now has on his left sleeve the Australian flag, and on the right sleeve the Pakistani flag. And you are the senior coach, if I'm not mistaken, for the women's national team in Pakistan. I have to ask, because people are going to be tuning into this, and ask, how did that happen? How did you end up being involved with that? And I think it probably relates to what we just talked about, but it has to be a really interesting story as to how this developed.
Yeah, so in 2014 we had the International Cup in Melbourne, and through Footy4All, I was asked to supply the Pakistan men's team. They didn't have a women's team back then, just to help out. So they had no footies for training or water bottles. So I went down and met the guys and donated that, and just stayed in contact. I thought it was a great story that, it's a country that's not well known for obviously AFL, and stayed in touch with everyone. And then in 2017, they rang me up about the week before the International Cup, Kashif from the Shaheens and Dr. Sareed Aris, asking me, their coach didn't make the trip, so from Pakistan for the International Cup, something happened with the visa, and he didn't make the plane, and they had the women's team about to arrive without a coach, and would I like to do it? I said, oh, what an opportunity, what an amazing opportunity, of course. So then I was given that opportunity to coach them. They arrived. Now, we had a slight problem because we only had 3 of them that spoke English out of the 25.
I'm just jotting down language differences here. Yes, you beat me to the question there. So how does that work? Because I'm guessing, and it's Farsi, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Urdu.
You know what? I should have known that, because I've actually had several students that were from Pakistan that did speak Urdu, and I remember I would type up exams, and then I would put them into a translator to translate them into Urdu, not really having any idea that what was coming out of the translator was what I was actually trying to ask them, not hoping that it was something close to it. Okay, so yeah, so they're how are you? Were your Urdu skills non-existent at this point?
Yeah, that's correct. So
okay.
I picked up a few quick shaba, which I think is good, but you're only supposed to say it once. But I was saying, I was very happy, so I was saying shaba, 2 of them. And I learned Zorze, which is strong, so I was telling them Zorze kick. So yeah, it was great to. It was great to, and again, that's what sport does, Craig, doesn't it? It's cross-cultural. Mm-hmm. It gave me the opportunity to learn their language. And the poor girls, seriously, that they literally got off the plane Friday night. We had a 1 hour, not 1 hour, they were supposed to have a 1 hour training session, and they were running late with everything that was going on, no surprise. So we had like a 15-minute training session. Most of them thought they were actually playing soccer because they heard the word football. And when we pulled out the AFL Sharon, they were certainly very confused. And then the selectors came up to me. There was 30 of them. They said, you got to pick a squad of 22. And I said, well, I don't even know their names, nevertheless, who can play and who can't. And they don't even know who this strange, crazy Aussie is, yelling at them to run and kick and ask for.
Well, and just from, thinking about it from a cultural standpoint, that they are in many ways unaccompanied females, and you being, I mean, there had to be some apprehension there, whether it was something that was observable or not. There had to be some, maybe tension's not the right word, but just some some concern on their part. Did they have chaperones that had traveled with them?
Yeah, they had a couple, but also again we were blessed with the Shaheen's group here in Melbourne.
Okay.
That were facilitating their trip.
Okay.
So I had translators, obviously, and I had
good deal.
I had advisors in relation to that.
Shaba.
And yeah, you're exactly right. They're coming. Yeah, yes, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Shaba, that's for sure. I was, so it was a steep learning. I hadn't met anyone from Pakistan before 2014 when I just distributed some equipment. I've never worked with them, and obviously it's a very strict Muslim culture, and which I was blessed again to learn about, and get the opportunity to understand what I needed to do properly as well to make sure that they were comfortable as well. But their enthusiasm, their passion, and their spirit and determination, and resilience and courage. The courage just to get on the plane, Craig. Most of these people hadn't been out of their village, nevertheless got on a plane.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
And come to Australia. How many people would do that in the reverse to go to their country? And I promised them after I saw them and was involved with them for that 3-week period that one day I'd go to Pakistan to repay their courage and faith in our great game and our great country. And again, was blessed to have that opportunity in 2019 to spend 10 days and literally went across the whole country through Chaudhry Ali and Sardar Tariq, the AFL Pakistan organisers. And through that trip, we've been able to grow the game across the whole country. And they've got a national championship of both men and women coming up in December. Okay. And I'm planning to go back this time next year as well.
Now, are you still going to be involved in helping to coach these clubs, or was that kind of a one-time thing then with you?
No, still the national coach, also the assistant coach of the men's. I've got a meeting with AFL here in Melbourne next week. Simon Highfield and AFL Asia have been outstanding in their promotion and support of AFL Pakistan. And the thing that differs in a lot of countries, there's no expats running it. It's run by all native Pakistani in Pakistan. They've picked up the game. They're running it themselves. It's extraordinary.
Right. I mean, that kind of makes sense because, I don't think that there's, a lot of expats that are in other parts of the world, whether it be them playing in, say, Singapore or Japan. A lot of them have gone there for technical or industrial jobs, things of that nature that may not necessarily be happening in Pakistan. So that makes sense that there's probably not a great deal of expats there that would be doing that. That's a good point. So you're going to be heading back hopefully next year. Now, do you keep in touch with the players now? Are you able to do that, like through Zoom or through Skype or something like that, where you're able to? Do you coach them like long distance?
Yeah, it's still Charger, still working on a lot of it's still, obviously you're starting from the ground level. So it's working with AFL Pakistan administration to help them set up. Like, I mean, when I was over there, I had to coach the umpires. So you can't have a game without umpires. All the work that they'd been doing over there, that they'd been doing by themselves through YouTube. So that was
so you're learning. Yeah, you're
really
learning.
Needed to do.
Yeah, you could do it. You could do a footy TED talk for them.
That's right. That's what you had to do when you're over there, as well as trying to upskill the skills and. But their management, like the grounds that I went to in Pakistan, because obviously cricket is huge. So the easy thing that you don't have, the grounds are already there. They just have to put up the goalposts at either end.
That makes a lot of sense.
And their markings of the ground were so precise; they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they were able to put it all together. And then then I obviously had to coach coaches, which I did when I was there, so that they could go back and when I was gone to organise teams and skills and get that together, which they've done. They've got 52 teams now across the whole of Pakistan ready to go, which is extraordinary. So
52 teams. That's roughly the same number of teams that we have here in the U.S. I mean, now in terms of like different like cities and that sort of thing, because some of them will have like a men's and a women's side, but you know, some of them end up playing mixed. So
no, you're exactly right.
And one of the links,
and that's across.
Go ahead.
And that's across. You know, we're talking. I was lucky enough to fly into Karachi and then go up the middle into Multan, across to Lahore, and then up to Islamabad. Through those 10 days, you're on the road, running 20-hour days, visiting people, having, you know, you're meeting local officials. One bakery I went into, and I was pretty much the only Western tourist in Pakistan at that time, because it's just starting to open up now in relation to their sporting events because of security concerns.
Right.
But I was safe the whole time. I went into a bakery in a rural town. It was like I was Brad Pitt. They'd never seen a white fella in there, and especially a crazy Aussie carrying around a football. And I was absolutely mobbed, taking photos and autographs. Oh, it was extraordinary.
Do you follow the NFL at all?
I certainly do, yeah. A lot of Aussie punters.
Okay.
You talked about Texas A&M.
Well, you were mentioning, everybody thought you were Brad Pitt. I honestly think I've been a lifelong Cleveland Browns fan. I think you look like Joe Thomas, who used to be one of our offensive tackles. Okay, who's going to be a Hall of Famer in a couple of years here. I think you look like Joe Thomas, if you ask me.
I'll take that, Craig. I'll take that.
Yeah. But so how did they, when they arrived here, or when they arrived in Australia to play in the International Cup, was this really their first opportunity to actually be playing the game itself?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so they when you said that they thought they were going to be playing soccer because they'd heard the word football, they were like, wait a minute, this doesn't look like anything we've done before.
Yes, I'm pretty confused. You're right,
yes,
Craig. So the versions they were training and playing with in Pakistan, again, great credit to the AFL Pakistan over there that they even got it off the ground. But the version they were playing was very different than the first game against England. I can tell you, Great Britain. I can tell you.
And I'm guessing that did not go very well. Okay.
I think the final score was 183-0. And at quarter time, we had, half the girls were in tears because they'd just been absolutely smashed every time we went near the ball. And Pakistani women are, short of stature, big of heart and courage, but short of stature compared to Great Britain, AFL, well-trained, well drilled. And
how many of the players on the British squad were Australian expats who had maybe played the game growing up? You probably had some people who had done that.
Yeah, correct. And they'd been well drilled and they trained regularly, played regularly. And this was first ever official AFL game for the Pakistani women. Wow. And as I said, at quarter time, they were just shell shocked and dumbstruck and, scared. And I had to rally them. And again, to their credit, they never gave up. They never asked me to take them off the ground. And just to explain that once you put on your jersey for your country, that gives you that shield, that gives you that strength, that gives you that resilience. And they took all that on board. And every single game, every single minute, they had a red-hot crack and did their best. And they just thrived representing their country because this was the only opportunity they were going to get that. Sport in Pakistan, obviously, for women is difficult.
Right.
And AFL gave them that opportunity to be with women, again, in a foreign country, playing a sport they didn't know much about, but they love it. They absolutely love it.
So after the first game was played, after you played the first game against Great Britain, I know you had said that they had told you had to select 22 players. Did they come to you and say, nah, go ahead and play with all 30? Just mix and match however you need to.
Oh, I wish they had them. I tell you, we might have had a chance if we had 30
because you might have found, you might have found, the other 8 might have been, your A-listers that you just didn't know about yet. So did during that, did you played more than that one game, correct? Because that's
we had pool game. Yeah,
that seems like an awfully long. Go ahead.
We played Canada, Papua New Guinea, and Fiji.
Okay. Did they get a chance? Did they score at all during the rest of the tournament?
Oh, and the last game was against the combined world team, and they were the bottom of their pool like we were. They crossed over. It was like our grand final.
Okay.
And we were lucky enough. We scored one goal.
Good deal. Good deal.
Right down at the end. It was like we won the grand final. Everyone ran together, and the world team came and celebrated with them as well. And we were probably the favourite team of the competition, because at the end of every game, the girls would get together and sing and dance in their native Urdu in the middle of the ground, and we're just, again, they're just so appreciative and excited to represent their country. And every team couldn't believe the spirit of our team. We'd get beat by 180 points, but it was like we'd won by 180 because of their unbelievable resilience and excitement levels.
Well, and do you think part of that was simply because they were being given the opportunity to do something that culturally had been frowned upon for so long?
Yeah, there's certainly sport for the elite level and the privileged in Pakistan with women, but it is difficult for the working class and the normal people to gain those opportunities. And a lot of these girls came from villages and came from remote areas. A lot came from elite sport. Like we had elite Pakistan representative soccer players, Abia Haidar and also Karishma Ali, who had represented their country, but a lot of them, had no sporting prowess whatsoever. And I'm not sure how they ended up on the team, Greg, but when they gained their opportunity,
they can afford the plane ticket, right?
And now obviously for the World Cup in 2023. The AFL Pakistan certainly learned from that, and now we're developing, players that have sporting ability. Plus, they've put programs in place through my visit in 2017 to develop the skills of the game as well. It'll be a lot more professional and a lot more talented, the next teams that they bring out.
So you're saying we should go ahead and bet for them to cover the point spread?
No, I wouldn't go that far, Greg. It's still early days. I wouldn't get that excited. So, we're hoping to score a few more goals per game.
So it's fascinating that you've been involved with that, because I did see an article that Pakistan has just recently got its first level 2 footy coach as well. That's working with the men's group.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. He came out and played in 2017. I know him well. Okay. And he's been involved in coaching in Islamabad, the Islamabad Tigers. And it's a great credit to him to have done all that remotely. And again, great support from AFL Asia and Simon Highfield at AFL headquarters to support this. And that's what they're doing. I think the level 1, there's something like 35 level 1 AFL credit coaches across Pakistan. So again, you've got to develop the coaches and the umpires, so then they can develop the players and then they can develop the game.
Okay. Now, with the information that you shared with me early on there, you said that you had worked as a recruiter for the Brisbane Lions. What does that type of a job what does that consist of? What were you doing in that role?
Yeah, so I was involved in Melbourne, a Melbourne-based recruiter, so part-time. So I'd watch a game on we had TAC Cup, which is the under-18 elite competition, which leads into the AFL. We also had the VFL, the Victorian Football League, which one tier below. So and also we had private school AGSV and APS that run football competitions. So I'd go and watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games of AFL a weekend across all those competitions. And then we would sit down at the start of the year as the Brisbane Lions recruiting team. There was about 5 of us. Graham Hadley, a great man, was his son Richard played in the premiership with Brisbane Lions, was my boss at the time. And we'd identify the top 5 or 6 players per team in the TAC Cup under-18 competition, as it was known back then. And then I was given the opportunity to go and watch all VFL games and identify players that I thought that could play AFL. And then we would write a report. We would take notes at every game. You'd have to write a report, and you'd break down the players into all the different things. So kicking, handball, endurance, hard ball gets, loose ball gets, strategic, intelligence. And then you try and meet the player to gain an understanding of what they were like as a person as well. You go into their school reports. You talk to their coaches at the different levels as well to ascertain, could they, even if they had the skills and the fitness, did they have the attitude to become an AFL player? Fantastic. And that experience at over 2 years has given me the information and the opportunity to develop. I coach at a school level, I coach at a community level, to pass that on to the kids, especially the elite kids, to gain the opportunity for them to, if they want to make it, this is what you have to do, and this is how hard you have to work, and this is what you need to work on.
Okay. Did you find anybody that found their way onto the Lions list?
I found a lot of players that got drafted, but again, with the AFL draft, you only get a certain amount. You only get a certain amount of picks, and they didn't pick up the players I picked up. A lot of other players were picked up, and it was exciting to see. And it showed that I knew what I was doing too, which was the most exciting thing, that you could identify those players through what I'd seen. And they went on to Paul Seedsman. He went to Collingwood, and he's currently at the Adelaide Crows, was one. Callum Sinclair, big ruckman, he's currently at Sydney. He was another one. Ahmed Saad, he had a fantastic career at St Kilda. And again, it comes down to, like you, Craig, when you watch NFL or baseball or basketball, the best player is usually the one that can go on. And most of the time, they just haven't been given that opportunity if they're playing at the second tier level. And it was exciting at the under-18 level to identify, even though they might have been the best player, you watched, there was Dyson Heppel was a standout. He's at the current Essendon captain.
Right.
And Brisbane Lions just missed out on picking him up, and we were lucky. I was just lucky enough to watch these elite kids too and see the development that they have gone through now playing AFL. And that was a great sort of way that gave me the confidence that Nick Constantine, who is the punter at Texas A&M at the moment, the first non-Texan to actually come in to that role and to actually be smashing it. I could see through what he could do that if he got an opportunity in your system, that the cross-coding would transfer, because all he had to do was learn the technique with some hang time and distance, and he had all the other attributes. He worked hard, he was athletic, he was intelligent, he listened to his coaches. And that's what gave me the confidence to take him down at Nathan Chapman's pro kick training school with John Smith and give him that opportunity. And I have no doubt he'll be picked up NFL punter, probably the end of next year.
Yeah, I had Nathan Chapman on the podcast back in 2020. Yeah, it was great to talk with him. Just really, as he said, he said we'll pretty much have every spot in college football pretty soon, with the exception of probably 3. Probably, the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy, and West Point, the Army, the Military Academy. Those will probably be American punters, but the other ones will probably all be the Australian ones here pretty soon. So is that where your affinity for Texas A&M has come from then? The young man that's there now?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I had no idea, Craig. And but I took Nick Constantino. He kicked a goal from the centre circle, one of our AFL grounds, playing with my son Tommy Gallus for Pegs FC. and went through post high. And, you know, most kids can't kick it. That would have been 65 metres out, and it went through post high. Our posts are probably, I don't know, 20, 30 metres tall. And I was talking to his dad at the under-19s grand final, which Tommy and Nick played in. And I said he should have a crack. Like, he wasn't going to play AFL. He could have played AFL, but they typecast different players, and other players don't get that opportunity. He wasn't super fit. He was a great marker, long kick, but it couldn't run out the games as well as they might have thought. And I said to his dad, what about having a crack at NFL punting and getting a crack in the college system? He said, yeah, I've mentioned it to Nick. Why don't you mention it to him? So, you know, what they're like with their parents. I said, yeah. And I knew Nick well. I'd taught Nick and I'd coached Nick in cricket. And I said to Nick, why don't you come down with me to Nathan chat? I knew Nathan, obviously, and the program that he ran. Another kid, Jordan Berry, who's one of the NFL punters. He came through the same junior. Yeah, he came through the same junior program Nick and my son played in at AFLW Football Club, and was doing very well. And so I took Nick down with Nathan for his first session. There were kids training there for 3 months, and Nick had a better hang time and a better length of kick in his first kick, Craig, his first kick.
Wow.
And Nathan gets all these people ringing him, because I rang Nathan. I said, this kid's a superstar. He's got a great left foot. He's going to smash it. And Nathan goes, well, I've heard that every time anyone comes down, Michael, but bring him down. We'll have a look. And then he came up to me at the end. He said, you were 100% right, Mick. And this kid can, if he sticks at it and trains, he'll go very well. And John Smith obviously knows all the colleges and all the coaches. And he said to me, and I said to him, you're not taking him over there unless you're putting him in a great system and a great college and a great coach. And eventually, after he's done his training, John contacted me. He said, we've got the place for him and the coach for him. And he's in an amazing system. And Jimbo Fisher, just an amazing man. Forget about the coaching. You want a positive mentor in front of those kids, and can't get better than Jimbo Fisher.
You're next time you speak to him, and I hope you get the chance to do that, you're gonna have to ask him how he feels about the word howdy. I asked that because that only because when my son is an officer in the Navy, and he had earned a scholarship to go through officer training through the Navy, and he then went out to the different schools that had the Navy programs to decide where he wanted to go to school. And he went and visited Texas A&M. Now we live in Ohio, but he went and visited Texas A&M, and he came home and he said, Dad, I hated it because everybody says howdy down there. And he said, that's all you ever say. And I hate when you say it. So you'll have to ask him about that and see if he uses that term now for hello. So I bet he does.
No, I will. Certainly will, Craig. He loves it. He said the Texans are so friendly. He can't believe how welcoming they've all been to, and the food. He's a big unit, Nick Constantino. So he loves all the different types
all
of
the
food
barbecue and that sort of thing there. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So you've spent more than a quarter of a century as a teacher. Now, what age level do you teach?
Yeah, currently I'm in secondary, year 7. So that's in Melbourne, Australia. That's about 13, 14-year-olds.
Okay. So throughout your, and this is a very broad question here, but what's been the most rewarding thing that you've taken so far from your teaching career?
Just to see the kids fulfill their potentials, really. And I've been blessed. I had a dinner last night at one of my grade 2 students that I taught 17 years ago, and to engage, and you'll be the same, that to stay engaged with those kids and their families and to see them develop. I mean, I was blessed at Penley Nesson Grammar School, a leading private school here in Melbourne, to teach prep to 6 primary there for 22 years, as well as coaching in the AGSV system from year 7 to 12. And now I'm blessed at Gilson College to be teaching secondary, maths, English, HPE, and being involved in their sport programs and outdoor education programs with year 9s. And it's like you see too. It's just the kids that have a real crack at doing their best and then fulfilling their potential down the track, and the changes they make from whether you're involved at a year 7 or a prep level, and staying in touch with them. I've been blessed to stay in touch with a lot of the kids that I've taught, and like Nick Constantino, his brother Greg's doing a PhD as well, and support them. It's like, Craig, it's not just that 1 year. You get the connection with that 1 year, and if you can help them. And the reason I was at the Valesi's last night for dinner was because I'd helped Gabriel. I taught in year 2, and his sister Serena, she was a great soccer player, played in the college system, got a scholarship, and has come back to be a teacher. And I was able to support her, finish her teaching rounds, and then help her to gain employment at Penley Nesson Grammar School. And that's the best thing about teaching, having that opportunity to support kids at that year level and educate them, and hopefully inspire them to do things that I've been lucky enough to do across my career in teaching, and obviously in sport as well.
So you spent the last, I think it was about a week and a half out here in the States. We would call it going walkabout, but that's probably not the right term to use. You were in the, I'm going to try to get the pronunciation correctly here, the Bogong High Plains. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I just got there's a photo. Yeah, there's a photo of me there sitting and out looking and snow covered. We're up in the mountain ranges of the highest point in Victoria.
So let me ask you this question. Now that once you got back, what was the most sore, your feet or your back?
No, 100% the feet.
Okay.
We're very sore. I've got to, I dropped 4 kilos, Craig, and I need to lose another 6. So it was a great boot camp for me, I can tell you.
There you go. So,
and you had to we carried everything on our backs, and I had the most challenging group fitness level, and it came back to remind me exactly of the girls from AFL Pakistan. It doesn't matter about your fitness level; it's all up here. It all comes down to your resilience and your courage and your determination. And we had one little fella, Shrieker, that really struggled fitness-wise. He only had short little legs. He wasn't super fit. But even if we're going up a hill like this or going down one like that, he would not, he never stopped. He always kept going, even if it was a snail's pace. And you just had to continue to motivate. And you're the same. How great is life that you get that opportunity to be with these kids and create these unbelievable memories and unbelievable experiences that they wouldn't get without you and your input.
Yeah, you said you dropped 4 kilos, and this is not me bragging. This is just simply that I had a little bit of a health scare back in August. So since about the 3rd week of August, I've dropped over 25 kilos since the 3rd week of August. I've made a significant culture shift in my life. So because I think I'm a little older than you are, but yeah, I mentioned,
and you have to these days, Craig. I mean, especially just jumping in there, especially with the coronavirus, and my family, we got it just recently, and we're pretty crook with it all. Yep. And my daughter's the fittest out of all of us, and she got like a headache for 2 hours, whereas myself and my wife, I was crook for about 4 days. The wife was crook for a week. My youngest son was really crook, nearly had to go to hospital. And through that experience, it's about immune system, which and that's common sense in life. But until it sort of hits you like that, you think, hang on a minute, we don't know what's out there. We want to live. I want to go live to 100. I just turned 50, so I'm only halfway. But to do that, you've really got to concentrate on being physically and mentally fit. And to do that, you've just done, you've got to really concentrate on what you're doing, how you're doing it, making sure you're exercising, eating healthy, using everything in life as a balance. I mean, we've had this virus. We don't know what the next virus will be. If you are strong in yourself mentally and physically, you can achieve anything. I don't sleep much, as you might have worked out, Craig.
Well, I did see.
I can do all these things.
I did see this afternoon here, because it's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon here. I did see that you were on Instagram at about 4 o'clock this morning, your time. So yeah, you're right. You don't sleep very much. I noticed that. So You know, I mentioned this to you before we started recording tonight, that, you know, as I was going through your Instagram photos on there, and by all means, I think, you know, you should take a look at Michael's Instagram and follow him, you know, to see what he's doing with Footy4All and that sort of thing. I asked him, I said, have you ever considered yourself to be what I saw as chronically happy? Because the grin on your face, and it was in like 99% of the photos, it was the exact same smile, and it did not look like one of those smiles that was being faked. It looked like a genuine smile, like, I'm happy to be where I am right now doing this. And maybe I'm reading that wrong, but I don't think that I am.
100%, Craig.
Okay.
I've been blessed through my family, my parents, to you've got to live life, and you got to, you know, I have my down minutes and seconds and days like anyone else, but you've got to pick yourself up and live life. And the best way to live it is looking at everything in a positive. I'm always glass half full kind of guy. And again, you impress that on kids, you impress that on your family, the people you meet, because life's so short. And we don't know when it's going to end either. It could end today, could end tomorrow, could end in a year.
Yeah, I just saw, you know, in my local newspaper online that one of my classmates that he was 58, just passed away a couple days ago. So just it can happen. And my dad passed away when he was 59. So I mean, it's you're right.
Yeah.
So now that's been a bit of a downer there.
That's why you live life, Craig.
Right.
That's why you got to live every minute. It's going to end.
Yeah. I had a few just kind of general questions that I wanted to ask you before we wrap up here. Who has had the biggest impact on your life and career?
Oh, that's a good question, Craig. No one's asked me that one before. Well, probably, for the life, my parents, my mum and dad, amazing people. My mum was always volunteering when I was growing up and was involved with special needs. We had a special needs hospital up on the hill in Sunbury where we lived, and I remember there was a strike and all the nurses and healthcare workers walked off the job, and these special needs adults were in there by themselves, and they were struggling for food and everything else. So she took me up there with her. And I saw the volunteers. She was a probation worker as well, so worked with kids on the streets, and really demonstrated to me that if you're lucky enough and you got the time and the resources, you should put back into community. So, and my dad was a great supporter of that as well, of everything that she did. And 100% my mum and dad in relation to where I gained my sense of community and sense of giving back and volunteering. And probably in my education career, two men, a man called Dean McCarter, former principal where I used to work at Penley and Essen Grammar School, the junior school there, and his vice principal, Mr. Graham Sharman, and just taught me about the ethics of working hard. You're not going to be a success as a teacher, and then I worked out through them anywhere in life unless you work hard and you have a passion for what you're doing. If you don't have a passion for what you are doing, get out of that profession, find a new one, because you're not going to enjoy it. I haven't worked a day in my life, Craig. I haven't worked a day in my life because I thoroughly enjoy going to work every single day being engaged in inspiration of mentoring and educating kids. And there's no better job in the world than that either, I can tell you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What sporting event do you wish you had seen in person?
Oh yeah, well, I've got to get to a Texas A&M game. 110,000 at the college level. That's extraordinary. We get 110,000 at our AFL Grand Final, at a university level. And the most extraordinary thing, Craig, at Texas A&M and all the colleges, they're all the one team. You haven't got half and half. It's not 50,000 against 50,000. There's 110,000 of the same team. So can't wait to get to Kyle Field one day. Love to get to the English Premier League, like a Liverpool versus Manchester United, or where the singing and again the atmosphere and the passion would be. Yeah, those two would be extraordinary. You can tell me. I reckon that you're getting a better atmosphere at a college football game in America than you do at NFL.
You know, I think you might be right about that. I think because I think that, you have a lot of people who do a lot of consumption of fermented beverages at professional sporting events.
Yeah.
Which, is not necessarily the case and in college as much. Yeah, and I don't go to too many games. I'd much rather watch on television, quite frankly, when I do watch. And I don't watch, I haven't watched baseball in 2 years, and I'm a huge baseball fan because, I fell in love with footy about 6 years ago, and this has become kind of my world. I'll watch the Browns play, I'll watch Ohio State play in the Naval Academy, but other than that, I'm watching footy. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. So when you finally sit down someday, and I hope you do this, to write your autobiography, what's the working title for that book going to be? What are you going to call it?
Yeah, another great question, Craig. You're making me think here. Having a crack, living your best life, probably living your best life. I reckon that'd be a good one.
Okay. I came up with one also that I jotted down here.
Yeah,
it's a play on your organization. Selfless for all.
I only can do everything I do, Craig, through amazing support from.
Right.
I'm blessed with my wife Amanda and kids Thomas, Lily, and Benjamin, and like team for all, maybe.
There you go.
So you know yourself, you can only do extraordinary things if you've got extraordinary people with you. And
that's a great point.
I can't tell you how blessed I've been with the support everyone through Footies4All and across my education, and obviously through my family. And it's always a team effort, isn't it, Craig? You can't do anything unless you've got this great team behind you.
That's a great point. Now, you hear quite often, people will ask, what keeps you awake at night, which is a great question to ask. But I want to ask you this question instead. What helps you fall asleep quickly at night? What sets you at ease when you go to bed and going, okay, that's all good. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, well, as you might imagine, when I do get to sleep, I have no trouble sleeping. That's for sure.
Only a few hours a night, as you said. That's true. Yes.
Being healthy, to be honest, Craig.
Okay.
Money doesn't matter. I've been to some of the richest places and richest people on earth, and I've been to some of the poorest places. And I can tell you, when we run programs in Fiji, I get over there every couple of years and go out to the islands, and wherever I go, I live with the locals. I don't go to hotels. I don't stay in the 5-star. I'll be with the people, and that's where you gain the most opportunity to work with the people and learn about the people. And the villages in Fiji, on a tiny island of Overlau, on a tiny village called Vuma, are the happiest kids I've ever seen. They have little electricity, little running water. They live off the land. They get fresh fish and taro and cassava from their farms, and they're the happiest people you ever see. So, and they're healthy. So if you've got your health, that's what I sleep well at night. That my family are healthy, my friends are healthy, and we've got opportunities to give people sport through Footies4All, and if all those things are happening, which I've been blessed to have throughout my life so far, then I'm sleeping well at night.
Now, how can people reach out to Footies4All if they want to help and they want to contribute? Where can they go to do that?
Yeah, so we have Footies4All on Facebook and obviously on Instagram. We lost our website sponsor and haven't had an opportunity to get another one of them. And then, I'd love to, I've got a dream, Craig, and you'll be able to help me with this. And I know when I get to visit Texas A&M and have a chat with Jimbo Fisher, that to set up Footies4All in America. I know the American kids are exactly the same, the Aussie kids, they love their sport. And to run a program, exact same program here, using either AFL, NFL or basketball to give kids opportunity, run sporting clinics, and then you got to deliver the ball. I use the analogy, every kid that engages in a sporting clinic that is disadvantaged or low socioeconomic, they want to take the ball home. So you run the clinic, it's like you give them the lick of the ice cream, and at the end of the clinic, you take the ice cream away.
Yes, that's a good point.
Exactly
That's
right.
a great point. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, and I know that America would, I'd set this program up and run programs, as you said, Africa, Fiji, Pakistan, New Zealand. I'll do it anywhere in the world that I can where kids are disadvantaged and need sport to help them along. And I know it'll work fantastically in America. That's my end goal, is to get over there to you and give opportunities there. So just through Facebook, through Instagram. I don't want money, to be honest, Craig. I just want people just to support and to go out and do their own thing. I mean, the money takes care of itself. We're lucky to bring in $5,000 or $10,000 a year, but it doesn't matter. It's the opportunity to connect with like-minded people and to get out to those kids. I've been in the remote Aboriginal communities in Australia.
I just lost you there. You just faded out there. Hopefully you'll come back in a second here. Okay, so you were saying that you've had the opportunities to go to visit places throughout the world, whether it be Pakistan, Fiji. Your goals are trying to expand this to other parts of the world. I think what you're doing is absolutely a noble thing. And that's, hopefully, people will support you, whether it is through volunteerism or whether it is, through maybe sponsoring your website, something of that nature. Because I actually tried to go to your website today and it took me to like a betting page. So that was,
we got, they stole our, whatever it is, IP
URL,
address or whatever. And taken that over. So, that's, which is totally disappointing, but and I haven't got the time or the resources or the knowledge to change that, and I don't, I haven't. Again, you control what you can control, Craig.
Right, right.
Very little. If I'm spending time running around doing that sort of stuff, I'm not out there working with kids and getting those clinics and getting the balls out there. So, anyone that can help with that, I'd love to appreciate. I'd love to have their help with that, and love to have their help with the website. To get it out there, but it hasn't slowed. Like the difference having a website or not having a website hasn't slowed anything.
Hasn't slowed it down at all. Okay, well that's good. That's a positive that's the case then. Yeah. So
it shows what you're doing is the right thing too.
My last question for you, and I'm going to give you 5 words. You get 5 words here. How would your friends describe Michael Gallus?
Probably crazy would be the first thing. Totally crazy.
Okay.
Very, very passionate. Very, very giving. Always there for people as well, no matter what. And sleepless.
There you go. Yes. So, are you a coffee person?
Not really. No.
Okay.
Just living on life.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. You have the natural adrenaline then. Okay. I'm I've transitioned over to water here, but this is typically coffee.
Not good for you, Craig. Coffee, not good for you.
I know, but it's I don't have an IV of it hooked up to my arm or anything else, so that's a good thing. So
that is good.
Is there anything that we did not address that while I have you here? Because we touched on your involvement with your organization Footy4All, as well as your involvement with the Pakistani footy organizations. We've touched on everything here, and I think we've addressed everything that I was able to find and uncover here. But I want to reiterate when I said I think you were a Renaissance man as far as this sort of thing goes. I meant that. That was not a platitude. That was not a let's try to just catch somebody to listen to the show. I truly mean that, based upon the stuff that you've shared with me and that I saw about you. I'm thrilled to have been able to sit down and talk with you today, and it's been very rewarding on my end.
No, it's been an absolute privilege, Craig. And as you might imagine, I've been interviewed all across the world and around Australia over the last 10 years. And I can honestly say it's been an absolute privilege speaking with you. And
Thank you.
most people not most, I'd say half the people that interview me do no research whatsoever and have no idea what's going on. And the amount of research and time you put into my interview, and I'm sure all your interviews, really makes it worthwhile for the people listening because they gain a really good understanding of the person. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me this opportunity to talk to all your viewers across America. And I cannot wait to get to Texas A&M is my point to go to in America. And
there you go.
And I hear so many great stories about Americans, and I can't wait to engage in your culture and with everyone over there. And really thank you.
Someday I'm making the trip there.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah, anyone wants to come to Australia, Melbourne, look me up. I'm more than happy to put a shrimp on the barbie for you and take you to an AFL game at the MCG and show you some kangaroos and koalas. Just watch out for the bunyips and drop bears, but the kangaroos.
They're drop bears again. Yes, I'll tell you what. I will only go to an AFL game with you if it's a Richmond game being played at Marvel Stadium. Because I know how much the Richmond supporters love having to make that 6-kilometer trek over to Marvel Stadium. It's like cutting through the jungle to get there. Yes.
You were well versed, Craig. You were well versed. Not many people out of Australia know that one. You're right.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, my guest has been Michael Gallus. And Michael, thanks so much for taking time out of your Sunday morning. I truly appreciate it. And, folks, check him out over on Facebook at Footy4All. Also on his Instagram page, it is his name, Michael Gallus. I'll put a link there for that. I'm also going to link the Facebook page in the show notes as well. Have a fantastic, fantastic Sunday, sir, and have a great holiday season. Thank you very much.
You too, Craig. And to all your listeners too, just get out there, live your best life, have a crack. If you're not happy where you are, well, change that. Change the narrative. It all comes down to you. Go half class full on everything and really enjoy the opportunity to be alive because we only get to do it once. So make sure it counts.
There you go. That's a fantastic way to end this. Thanks so much, man.
A huge thanks to Michael Gallus for coming on the podcast. I had an absolutely wonderful time talking with him. And I hope that we can continue to stay in touch and chat with one another from time to time. If you want to help out Footies4All, you can reach out to Michael on his socials, and I'll have a link for those on the in the show notes, so you can check that out, and he can guide you in the right direction for doing that. So I can honestly say that the world is a much, much better place with people like Michael Gallus in it. And Michael, thanks for all you do, and thanks for giving me an hour of your time last week. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and as I said, I hope we're able to keep in touch, because I think you are an absolutely wonderful human being. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget that you can find everything that's related to the podcast at my new website, yankonthefooty.com. I hope that you'll consider checking it out. You can leave me a voicemail there. You can share your views on an issue through a voicemail or through a question that you might want to ask me. You can also sign up for the mailing list there as well. Now, if you'd like to help out the show, you can check out the Buy Me a Coffee page. It's a little yellow button in the bottom left-hand corner of my website. You can click on that if you want to help out the show. You don't have to do that, but if you choose to do so, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're interested in any of the gear that I have for the podcast, you can head over to my Redbubble page. They are just flying off the shelves here and flying out the door. I believe that I actually managed to bring in $2 through Redbubble last year, or this year, I should say. Maybe it's time for some new designs. I've got some great ideas. I just have not figured out how to get them created as of yet, because I don't have that type of an artistic skill. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in coming onto the podcast and talking about your club's off season, and we're kind of at the point in time where we're going to be looking at the men's comp, because in the last few episodes, I've been reaching out, trying to talk with individuals, or trying to reach out to individuals as far as talking about the women's comp, which is starting here in less than a month. And the interest in that has been not as robust as I was hoping. So I will be coming out with my own AFLW preview show here in the next couple of weeks. I have a couple of interviews set up for next weekend. I actually have 16 days off from work starting next Saturday, so I hope to be getting a lot done with the podcast as well as getting my basement cleaned out. And now since I put that out there for the world to hear, my wife's going to be able to hold me accountable on that. But again, if you're interested in coming in to talk about your club, one of the 18 in the men's competition, head over to my website and click on the register as a guest button at the top of the page and provide me your information. I've got about 4 or 5 people who have already reached out. I will be setting up times to meet with them, hopefully in the coming week and a half here, and get those set up. Now, since you've listened to the show, I hope you'll consider heading over to Apple Podcasts and leaving me a review. It'd be great if it was a 5-star review. I ask every week, and well, suffice to say, there's not been a huge influx of those. I haven't had a review for the show since May, which again, I'm not complaining about it. It's just been kind of funny because every day I'll go and I'll look to see if any new ones have come in. And it reminds me of an old country song here called "Ships That Don't Come In" by a singer that passed away due to COVID by the name of Joe Diffie. Very sad song, but just very poignant. So again, I sound like I'm groveling, and that's not my intent there. But if you want to help out the show and leave a review, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at yankonthefooty@gmail.com, as well as on Twitter at yank_on, and at a Yank on the Footy on Instagram and on Facebook. Hopefully you'll follow me on the socials and reach out there. I'm on those all the time. Love to engage with listeners, and if you haven't done so yet, if you'll consider possibly sharing this episode, if you enjoyed this one, or your favorite episode with your friends and family. Word of mouth is a great way to help get the message of the show out there to more people. So if you're interested in doing that, that would be truly appreciated. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the seasons, and I said seasons, are almost upon us. We're just a few weeks from the women's comp starting. I'm very excited about that. And the men's comp is just a few months away from getting going as well, and we're excited about that as well. So it's almost footy time. I know that the Ashes have been going on, and I'm not able to follow that here other than seeing what some of the people post on social media, but I really don't know how scoring works for cricket, so it sounds like Australia is doing fairly well, however. But folks, I do appreciate you listening, and as always, it's how I close out every week. May your dribble kick never hit the post. I will catch you later. This has been episode 116 of A Yank on the Footy, my discussion with Michael Gallus. Don't forget that you can reach me at yank_on or at a yankonthefooty@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and on Facebook at A Yank on the Footy. And if you want to check out the podcast over on my YouTube channel, you can search my name, Craig Wessels, and you'll find some of the recent episodes there. I'm starting to fill in the back catalog as well. Ladies and gents, just another couple of weeks until Christmas. Stay safe, stay happy. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. And please consider sharing the show with your friends and family. And until next time, goodbye.